Hello and a very good evening. You're watching the news tonight on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Here are the headlines. Centre clears Tamil Nadu ordinance to lift ban on Jallikattu. Union Cabinet to send it to the President Pranab Mukherjee for his assent. RBI Governor Urjit Patel appears before Public Accounts Committee, concedes that people did face hardships after demonetisation, assures that the cash situation will normalise soon. Shivpal Yadav finds place in Samajwadi Party list of 191 candidates for the first three phases of Uttar Pradesh election, but suspense continues over announcement of an alliance with the Congress. Supreme Court defers hearing on petition seeking postponement of Union budget till January 23rd. Centre files reply to Election Commission on procedure followed to delay budget presentation in 2012. And all eyes on Washington as the US prepares for the swearing-in of its 45th president. 70-year-old Donald Trump will be the oldest to take charge of the White House. Well, our top focus on the bulletin this evening: Union Environment and Law Ministries have cleared the Tamil Nadu government's ordinance to end the ban on the bull taming sport of Jallikattu. The Union Cabinet is now slated to send it to the President Pranab Mukherjee for his assent. This was on a day when thousands of protesters stayed put at Chennai's Marina Beach, where they are camping since Tuesday, saying that they will not leave till the ban is lifted. Also today, the Supreme Court agreed to the Centre's request that it should defer its verdict till next week in view of the law and order situation being created in the state. Let's take a look at how the story unfolded during the day.
Responding to the Tamil Nadu government's efforts to get an ordinance passed to bypass the Supreme Court ban on Jallikattu, Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi opined that the centre could play a role.
Supreme Court has agreed not to pronounce judgment for a week because we think it will take a couple of days for the state and centre to act together and then decide what is the best way forward, keeping in view the Prevention of Cruelty Act and keeping in view the 2014 judgment of the Supreme Court.
On Friday, AIADMK MPs led by senior leader M. Thambidurai met Home Minister Rajnath Singh seeking his intervention in getting the ordinance.
He assured our ordinance, what the Tamil Nadu government brought the ordinance, that file can be processed quickly, that can be sent to see that enabling state government bring that ordinance to see that Jallikattu be performed quickly.
तमिलनाडु सरकार ने एक प्रस्ताव बना करके मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ होम अफेयर्स को भेजा है। वहाँ से वो विषय अभी हमारे पास आ रहा है। हम उसके ऊपर पूरा विचार करेंगे और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत जल्दी इसका कोई सॉल्यूशन निकल जाएगा।
The Tamil Nadu government has earlier used a rule that allows the governor to pass emergency rules. Such rules apply to subjects where both the state and the centre have jurisdiction, but the rule has to be approved by the president. On Friday, appealing for the protesters to end their agitation, Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam said the state's ordinance had been sent for President Pranab Mukherjee's approval.
இந்த அவசர சட்டம் இன்னும் ஓரிரு தினங்களுக்குள் பிறப்பிக்கப்படும். மாண்புமிகு பாரத பிரதமர் உறுதியளித்தபடி அதற்கான முழு ஒத்துழைப்பு மத்திய அரசிலிருந்து கிடைக்கும். எனவே ஜல்லிக்கட்டுக்கான தடை நீக்கப்பட்டு தமிழகத்தில் ஜல்லிக்கட்டு ஓரிரு தினங்கள் நடைபெற உள்ள நிலையில் போராட்டத்தில் ஈடுபட்டுள்ள பொதுமக்கள், மாணாக்கர்கள், பல்வேறு அமைப்புகளை சேர்ந்தவர்கள் ஆகியோர் தங்களது போராட்டங்களை உடனடியாக கைவிட வேண்டும் என்று நான் அன்போடு கேட்டுக்கொள்கிறேன்.
Meanwhile, the protests seeking an end to the Jallikattu ban entered the fourth day, with both protesters and animal rights activists stepping up efforts to get a decision in their favour. With inputs from Pranav Goswami, Bureau Report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, RBI Governor Urjit Patel today conceded before a Public Accounts Committee that after the sudden ban on 500 and 1,000 rupee notes in November, people did face hardships. Speaking to PAC members on Friday, the RBI Governor also informed that the central bank is in talks with service providers and banks to reduce digital transaction costs. He admitted that the demonetisation step has had a short-term effect on the gross domestic product, but assured them that the move will have a positive impact in the mid and long term. Urjit Patel was also asked by members of the Public Accounts Committee about suspicious transactions in cooperative banks. In reply, Patel said specific agencies like Financial Intelligence Unit and Income Tax Department were looking into abnormal deposits. The RBI Governor has reportedly given an explanation to the PAC members and assured them that the cash situation will normalise soon. Meanwhile, President Pranab Mukherjee on Friday emphasized the significance of cooperative federalism at the Bengal Global Business Summit in Kolkata. Mukherjee said every state is important in the context of the entire nation. Addressing the summit, the president described the country as a growing economy with over 7.6% growth in the last decade. He appealed to the delegates of 29 countries present to consider investing in Bengal. The president said despite the recession of 2008, India is resilient and has prudent fiscal management. President Mukherjee also praised West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, stating that the necessary ingredients to restart the growth story had been created in the last few years.
India is the conglomeration of the states, and India's essential strength lies in cooperative federalism, particularly in the process of its economic development. There is no contradiction in the development of a constituent unit along with the development of the nation as a whole.
Well, ahead of the upcoming assembly elections in 5 states, RSS leader Manmohan Vaidya has stirred a fresh controversy by questioning caste-based reservation in jobs. Speaking at the Jaipur Literature Festival, Manmohan Vaidya said caste-based reservation should end and instead the government should focus on providing equal opportunities for all.
किसी भी राष्ट्र में हमेशा के लिए ऐसा आरक्षण का प्रावधान रहना ये अच्छा नहीं है। जल्द से जल्द इसकी आवश्यकता निरस्त होकर सबको समान अवसर देने का समय आना चाहिए, ये भी उन्होंने कहा है। और इसलिए वो आरक्षण के सिवाय बाकी अन्य आरक्षण के बदले में सबको अवसर अधिक दिए जाए, शिक्षा अधिक दी जाए, इस प्रकार प्रयत्न करना चाहिए। इसके आगे आरक्षण देना थोड़ा अलगाववाद बढ़ाने वाली बात है, ऐसा लगता है।
In other news now, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh has said that independent thinking and free expression at Indian universities were under threat in the wake of unrest at the University of Hyderabad and Delhi's Jawaharlal Nehru University. He also said that attempts to suppress peaceful dissent is undemocratic. The former Prime Minister also said that political interference in academic appointments is highly short-sighted.
Regrettably, independent thinking and free expression at Indian university are now under threat. Political interference in university curriculum and academic appointment is highly short-sighted. Recent attempts to interfere with free expression of the student community in Hyderabad Central University and Jawaharlal Nehru University are of particular concern. Attempts to suppress peaceful dissent are not only inimical to learning, they are also undemocratic. We must make every effort to protect the autonomy of our universities and to foster the right of our students to express ideas that powerful interests may not always agree with.
Well, Samajwadi Party released its first list of candidates for 191 seats for the upcoming polls on Friday. Shivpal Yadav and Azam Khan were among those who have been given a ticket. However, there is still no clarity on whether the alliance with the Congress is on.
Shivpal Yadav, the warring uncle of Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav,
Along with controversial State Minister Azam Khan has made it to the first list of 191 Samajwadi Party candidates released on Friday. The ruling party's first list of candidates covered the first 3 phases of the 7-phase polling beginning on February 11th. The party has offered 18 seats to Congress in these 3 phases.
अभी तो कांग्रेस का पास से कोई पॉजिटिव रिस्पांस अभी तक नहीं आया, तो चुनाव शुरू हो चुका। हम लोग चाहते हैं भाजपा को हराने के लिए, कांग्रेस चाहते हैं उनका शक्ति को मजबूत करने के लिए। तो पहला लक्ष्य भाजपा का हराना, तो कांग्रेस गठबंधन में राजी हो जाएंगे। भाजपा को हराना चाहते हैं तो समाजवादी पार्टी जो सीट कांग्रेस को देना चाहते हैं, कांग्रेस का 52 सीट के ऊपर कांग्रेस का हक है।
ये चर्चा में इस तरह का कोई विषय तो नहीं था। अगर ऐसा हुआ है तो मुझे अभी जानकारी नहीं। गठबंधन के लिए कोई अभी किसी भी तरह का कोई अवरोध तो नहीं आया। मैं ये मानता हूँ कि गठबंधन हो कार्यकर्ताओं के सम्मान पर।
The Samajwadi Party has offered seats to the Congress on the basis of the position of their candidates in the 2012 assembly polls. The SP is reportedly insisting on contesting all seats in Amethi and can spare one for Congress in Rai Bareli. The 2 districts are considered Congress bastions.
5 साल अभूतपूर्व काम किए हैं माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने, और इस सरकार में जो विकास कार्य हुए हैं वो इसके पहले किसी सरकार में नहीं हुए थे। फिर से चुनाव जिताने के लिए और पूर्ण बहुमत की सरकार बनाने के लिए माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी द्वारा जो काम कराए गए हैं वो पर्याप्त हैं, और मेरा अपना ये विचार है, मेरा अपना मानना है कि किसी भी गठबंधन की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है।
The alliance talks apart. The inclusion of Shivpal in the first list of candidates indicates a reconciliation between Mulayam Singh Yadav and son Akhilesh Yadav. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Election Commission today asked the Cabinet Secretariat for fresh details on the procedure followed by the then UPA-2 government in postponing the presentation of the Union Budget in 2012. The opposition had sought that the budget presentation be postponed in view of the Assembly elections in 5 states. They alleged that budget announcements might help the ruling party to influence voters. The centre, however, defended its decision, stating that the Union Budget is an annual constitutional exercise and covers the entire country. It also stuck to its decision to advance the budget presentation, arguing that it was done to ensure that the budgetary allocations were made well in time. The budget session this year will start from January 31st, and the Union Budget and the Economic Survey are slated to be presented the day after. The Supreme Court will hear the plea seeking postponement of the Union Budget on January 23rd.
यूजुअली जब कभी भी चुनाव की घोषणा होती है तो उस वक्त इवन बजटेड वर्क को शुरू नहीं किया जाता, क्योंकि उसका असर, उसका इन्फ्लुएंस वोटर के ऊपर पड़ता है। तो अब ये अगर आप बजट पेश करेंगे फरवरी में, तो उसका असर, और आप पॉपुलिस्ट स्कीम जो भी लाएंगे, वो अगर मतदाताओं को अट्रैक्ट करने का, आकर्षण करने का अगर उसमें मुद्दे हैं, तो उसका परिणाम चुनाव पे हो सकता है।
Well, Praja Party mascot Irom Sharmila is slowly recovering from her 16-year-long hunger strike. And with elections just around the corner, she is now working hard on reaching out to voters and voice her agenda as a new politician. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke to Irom about her plans and what she sees in the future.
Mainly the focus will be on repeal of ABSPA and as well as bringing right to justice to all and economically independent.
Assembly election is for overall development and control and administration of the states. So why only ABSPA you want to put as your agenda?
As for me, I want to focus on ABSPA repeal, the draconian law in a democratic country.
Do you plan to make an alliance with any other party, or you want to fight the election alone?
Just single out a regional party based on ideology and principle, but not on muscle and money power. But those left party front consisting of around 7 different parties suggested us to join them for a pre-poll alliance. to strengthen so as to encounter with the most powerful BJP and the Congress parties.
So do you want to make any alliance with any of them?
I think it's also good for making the government.
You are feeling that you will form the government, or you are fighting for sitting in the opposition?
If possible, on the ruling seat.
Election requires lots of money and resources. Do you think that you can manage all those things?
If we want to come to see real democracy in the society, we really want to depend on people's support.
Well, moving on now, former BJP MP Navjot Singh Sidhu, who joined Congress a few days back, today accused the Badals of having looted Punjab in their 10-year rule. Sidhu alleged the Badals had a direct conflict of interest with the state exchequer. He also told the voters that there was a pressing need for change in the state. The Congress candidate claimed that he had never seen such resentment among people against the government. Cricketer turned politician Sidhu is fighting the assembly polls from Amritsar East seat on a Congress ticket.
मैं आज उजागर करन वाला बादलों की लुट घसुट की नीति ते उन्हां दी नीयत कि किस तरह पंजाब दा पेट पाड़ के अपने घर भरे गए ने, किस तरह लाखां करोड़ पैसा जिहड़ा है वो निजी संपत्तियां बन गईयां जिहड़ा कि पंजाब दा हक सी.
Well, here's a roundup of the other election-related news in Polpuri. 695 nomination papers out of nearly 1,950 were rejected in Punjab after scrutiny for the 4th February assembly polls. Over 1,200 nominations were found valid and 695 invalid, while 3 cases were kept pending, 1 in Hoshiarpur and 2 in Mansa. The last date of withdrawal of candidature is 21st January and the counting of votes will take place on the 11th of March. Filing of nominations kicked off for the first phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh to be held on 15th February. The second phase will cover 67 assembly constituencies spanning 11 districts of Uttar Pradesh, including Bareilly, Bijnor, Kheri, Saharanpur, Moradabad, Shahjahanpur, Badaun, Rampur, Sambhal, Pilibhit and Amroha. The nominations for the second phase of polling will continue till 27th of January, while scrutiny would take place on the 30th of January. The nomination for assembly elections in Uttarakhand began today. The polling for all 70 constituencies will be held in the state on February 15th in a single phase. Nomination would be filed up till 27 January and scrutiny would take place on the 30th of January. February 1st is the last date for withdrawal. Moving on to some international news now, dignitaries have arrived for the swearing-in of Donald Trump as the 45th President of the United States. Ahead of the ceremony, security has been tightened in Washington. There was heavy deployment of personnel as anti-Trump protesters dressed in black masked on the streets holding placards against the incoming administration. Trump will be the oldest American president to take charge of the White House.
World attention is fixed on America as it prepares for the swearing-in of its 45th president. 70-year-old Donald Trump will be the oldest to take charge of the White House. The swearing-in of the business tycoon will take place on the steps of the U.S. Capitol and will be followed by a parade to the White House along streets thronged with spectators. Ahead of the ceremony, Washington has been turned into a virtual fortress with thousands of people, both supporters and opponents, expected to arrive for the inauguration. Trump's ascendancy to the top post has been marred by several protests not only in the US but also across the world. Ahead of his swearing-in ceremony, Washington and New York saw thousands of people taking to the streets to express their displeasure with his incoming administration. Protests were also held in London as well as Philippines' capital Manila over Trump's views about women and illegal migrants.
Listen, the man needs help. He's not well. I'm sorry to say it, and I don't say that to be mean, and I say it with actually love in my heart, because I don't believe in picking on people who are mentally unstable. And I think that diagnosis would come from anybody who knows what a malignant narcissist is.
We stand in solidarity with the American people, with the people of the world who are protesting the inauguration of U.S. President Donald Trump. Filipinos from Manila to Washington to New York are joining protest actions.
Meanwhile, caution prevailed in the global financial markets ahead of Trump's inauguration. US dollar, the Asian stock markets as well as the German stock market DAX slumped ahead of the ceremony on Friday.
Die Börsen in Asien und in Europa sind nervös. Wir haben die Amtseinführung von Trump, es beginnt eine neue Zeit, aber im Vergleich zu früheren Amtseinführungen wissen wir nicht sehr viel Genaues, was er denn vorhat, gerade auch wirtschafts- und handelspolitisch, außer vielleicht in 2 Wörtern America First. Aber es muss ja mit Leben gefüllt werden und die Unsicherheit ist hier zu spüren, definitiv.
Trump meanwhile arrived in Washington on Thursday with his family to kick off a weekend of festivities. He attended a concert at the Lincoln Memorial on the eve of his presidential inauguration, where he pledged to unify America.
This journey began 18 months ago. I had something to do with it, but you had much more to do with it than I did. I'm the messenger. I'm just the messenger. And we were tired, and I love you. Believe me, I love you. We all got tired of seeing what was happening. And we wanted change, but we wanted real change. And I look so forward to tomorrow. We're going to see something that is going to be so amazing.
Trump had stunned the world by winning the November US presidential election, beating the Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton. His swearing-in will be witnessed by exiting President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. 3 other former presidents, George Bush, Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, will also attend the ceremony along with Hillary Clinton. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, here's a roundup of the other international news in Global Buzz. News from Africa, where tension prevails in Gambia after Adama Barrow was sworn in as the country's president. The country's ruler, Yahya Jammeh, who is in power since a 1994 coup, has refused to step aside. West African armies have begun an operation aimed at installing the country's new president. A total of 7,000 troops from Senegal, Nigeria, Ghana, Togo and Mali would be involved in the operation. On Thursday, Senegalese troops entered Gambia in support of Barrow. Barrow is presently in Senegal and has said that he will not return to his country, Gambia, until the military operation comes to an end. At least 20 people died, 70 injured and more than 30 others remain missing after a commercial building caught on fire and collapsed on Thursday morning in Tehran. Rescue workers in Tehran were desperately hunting for firefighters trapped under the rubble after a fire today led to the collapse of Iran's oldest high-rise, the 15-story Plasco building. The rescue operation is still underway. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani has ordered a thorough investigation. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov today said that Russia has observed positive signs in the Syria peace process. Lavrov further added that Moscow sees a meeting in the Kazakh capital next week as an important step towards establishing a framework for talks taking place in Geneva. Militants from the Islamic State group have destroyed part of the Roman amphitheatre in the ancient city of Palmyra. Syria's antiquities chief said that the tetrapylon, a group of 4 pillared structures which were mainly modern replicas, has also been ruined. The jihadists recaptured the UNESCO-listed archaeological site in December from government troops. Irina Bokova, Director General of UNESCO, said what she described as cultural cleansing by violent extremists had resulted in an immense loss for the Syrian people and for humanity. Well, the 45th President of the United States is being sworn in. Let's cut across live to Washington, D.C. and see what's happening there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 39th President of the United States, Jimmy Carter and Mrs. Rosalind Carter.
Well, this certainly seems like the cavalcade of Donald Trump, of course, leading up to Capitol Hill, where he will be sworn in as the 45th President of the United States. The swearing-in ceremony will take place at 12 noon local time, which is in about an hour from now, of course. As you can see, this seems like the cavalcade of Trump there being taken to Capitol Hill, where the new president of the United States will be sworn in. There you have it, Hillary Clinton, the Democratic candidate who lost to Donald Trump in the end, and her husband, Bill Clinton, being shown their seats, of course. This is the process, a ceremony that takes place where all the former presidents of the United States gather, while just before the president then finally appears and is sworn in. Well, that's it on this edition of the News Tonight. Have a good night.